Today is the Commanders Report Mailbag, where I get to answer your questions surrounding the Washington Commanders as we get closer and closer to the start of Commanders training camp. Before I get to your questions today, and this is my favorite segment, man. I love having that two-way conversation with you guys. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We have the most interactive Commanders fan community here on the YouTube platform. We go live every single Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Where we talk Commanders football, and we chop it up for about an hour, hour and a half or so. So make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to get a question on a future Commanders Report mailbag. Okay, now we got one from Eugene, my man. Says, Robert Griffin III polls Commanders fans on potential return to Washington's old logo. Could it actually happen? No, it's not going to happen. Josh Harris, I don't see as somebody that would bring it back to the old logo. It would just be a firestorm, a shit show if they went back to the old logo and name. I do think that they could change the name and the logo within the next few years or so, especially if people continue to show that they don't like the name Commanders. But at that point, I'm not really worried about it. Don't think they're going to change it back, though. I think that'd be pretty stupid, honestly. Then we got one from Doug Furr. He says, if we had B.A., Bakhtiari, Gilmore, Ogbah on the team today, would you buy tickets? I would. In the end, is that not what matters most to Harris? So I think what the Commanders are thinking right now is that they've got quite a bit in cap space right now, and I think that their plan, especially if they don't get Brandon Aiyuk, they're probably going to roll over a lot of their cap for this season and move it over to next season, because that's something that the team can do. Before the season begins, move $25 million over to the 2025 season to allow them to maybe make a splash in free agency next year. You're going to have quite a few free agents actually next year anyway, so you already have quite a bit of cap space. But if you move over $25 million from the 2024 cap to 2025, you're going to have $100 million again, and Jaden Daniels is going to be going into his second year. So I almost feel like the Commanders are thinking, all right, this year it's going to be about establishing the culture. It's going to be about getting Jaden Daniels' feet wet, and then next year we're going to be going all in. And we're going to be really trying to get players, and we're really going to try competing for not only division championships, but NFL championships. Hopefully Jaden Daniels develops to that point. Then we on from Angry Comedy. Said, like that name. Says, Drake May seemed to be better on the whiteboard on Hard Knocks this week. Do you think the Commanders made the wrong choice? No, I don't think they made the wrong choice. I watched the film extensively on these two guys. I watched every single snap that they took during their 2023 seasons, and I even watched Drake May in 2022 as well. Drake May has a significant accuracy issue, and I don't care how good he was on the whiteboard in that interview with Brian Daboll. All right, you got to be able to throw a ball accurately, and there's just too much variance in the accuracy with him. Jaden Daniels is more accurate. I think that he ran that LSU offense really, really well. And I think that, he forgot to say X in instead of F in, and he forgot the protection when Brian Daboll asked him the play call, right? So it wasn't a great showing for Jaden in that interview, but hey, man, he's a Washington Commander, not a New York Giant, and I think he's better off for it. Now, better career. Let me know down there in the comments section. Will it be Drake May or Jaden Daniels? Type JD if you think it's going to be JD, or if you think it's going to be Drake May, type DM. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. Then we got one from Commanders Electric here. Says, do you think Jaden Daniels has over 4,000 passing yards? It could happen. But here's the thing, man. I think where his value is really going to be as a rusher. All right. I think that Cliff Kingsbury has done some creative things. Cliff Kingsbury, generally speaking, is not a creative offensive coordinator. He's just not. He's kind of like a generic air raid type guy. But the stuff that he does do pretty creatively with Kyler Murray back there in Arizona was the QB run game. And I think that he could implement a lot of that stuff here. And I think Jaden Daniels, it would give this Commanders offense a numbers advantage in the box. It would force defenses to put another defender in the box to have numbers. And that's going to help things out a lot. And because he can run so well, he's going to see a lot of country zone coverage like Lamar Jackson sees. So that's going to lower the bar for Jaden Daniels in terms of a mental processing standpoint. I think that Jaden Daniels could get to 4,000 passing yards, but I think his biggest impact will be as a rusher. Then we got one from Ebony Wright. says, do you think we need to get a left tackle? If you're asking me, Ebony, yes, we need to get a left tackle. But it seems like the Commanders are fine with Cornelius Lucas as the bridge left tackle, and they're hoping and they believe in Brandon Coleman. Now, I'm less optimistic about Brandon Coleman. I didn't love his film from TCU. He looked awful at the Senior Bowl this year. I think they probably overdrafted him. But he's got the physical tools that you look for. I'm hoping Brandon Coleman can develop. But Cornelius Lucas is a replacement level starter, good backup, good swing tackle. And then Brandon Coleman, I don't think will be ready to play this year. So yes, if I were the Commanders, go get Donovan Smith. Trade for Dan Moore Jr. Go sign David Bakhtiari because you got to keep Jaden Daniels upright. Speaking of keeping Jaden Daniels upright, you can keep his jersey upright on your figure during Commanders game days this year when you go to chatsports.com/Daniels. And also, guys, you can help out the channel here because if you go to chatsports.com/Daniels, I'll put that link in the comments and description. Click that link, make a purchase, and Fanatics is going to send us part of the proceeds. So if you want to help us out here and you want a Jaden Daniels jersey in your closet, go to chatsports.com/Daniels. Then we got one from JG. He says, which group do you think is most likely to overperform, which is most likely to underperform? We'll start with overperform. I think the group that will overperform is the pass rush. And I think a lot of people are kind of sleeping on the Commanders pass rush right now because they're like, oh, Cleveland Ferrell's going to start for you? Well, first of all, I don't even think by season's end Ferrell will be a starter for the Commanders. But, I don't think people understand that Dan Quinn runs like a five-man front, all right? Jamin Davis is going to be playing that Micah Parsons hybrid edge rusher linebacker role. We've got excellent interior pass disruptors in Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne. I think Dorrance Armstrong's a very solid number 2 edge rusher. I think the expectations are low for the Commanders pass rush, and I think they'll exceed them. When it comes to underperforming, let's go with the wide receivers because I think this is going to be a more run-heavy offense than people are expecting. You got a rookie quarterback. The QB run game is going to be heavier than people think. And I think Terry McLaurin will still be excellent, but Jahan Dotson, maybe won't get to 1,000 yards this year. Hoping he has a good season this year, but I think that the wide receivers might be a little bit overhyped at this point. But overall, it's a very good room. Then we got one from Millie. He says, I saw earlier in the week that you broke down Daniels' Hard Knocks play. Could you do Drake May's play? So Drake May's play was pretty interesting, okay? It was gun dolphin right, tundra, flow H angle, okay? And there's multiple elements to this. And, it's very interesting, the Dable, Earnhardt, Perkins type language. So here's a picture of the concept that Drake May is showing. So the tundra is the double under there. So that's on the right side. That's the Y and the Z. The flow is on the left side there where you have the corner route, and then you have the out route there, kind of stressing the cover 2 corner. And then the H, which is the halfback, is running an angle route behind that underneath drag. So, this is a very simple concept, right? So this is kind of what tundra looks like here. It's a little bit different because it's not H angle, but you guys can kind of see that you've got the high-low all the way on the left here. And then you've got the tundra here, which is the double in there. So that's kind of the basic concept of tundra. And I think that, it's a very interesting concept, and I love breaking this stuff down, right? Because I'm a complete football nerd. I absolutely am. So whenever they do this kind of stuff on Hard Knocks, I just absolutely eat it up. And Drake May, to his credit, I'm wishing him the best of luck. He looked pretty damn impressive in that HBO show, keeping up with Brian Dable every step of the way. So will Drake May have a successful NFL career? Let me know down there in the comments section. Type Y for yes or N for no. Take Jaden Daniels out of the conversation, right? Will Drake May have a successful NFL career? Then we got one from Carlton Beverly. He says, do you think we will make the playoffs? Speak it into existence. No to limited injuries. If I'd have to guess, I don't think the Commanders make the playoffs this year. I really believe that, especially because they're saving so much cap space right now, that makes me think they're going to roll over a ton of that cap space to next season, which would indicate to me that this year is about establishing Dan Quinn's culture. It's about getting Jaden Daniels going, and eventually next year when they have a bunch of cap space, Jaden's heading into his second year, that's go time for this franchise. So right now, I think that this team is still a couple pieces away from really competing, But you never know, man. Like, this team can overperform. Jayden could win Offensive Rookie of the Year. I mean, you have to have a pretty rosy outlook of the situation to think they're going to make the playoffs this year. But no matter what happens, it's going to be a fun year because you got a new rookie quarterback, new head coach, and you're establishing a culture. So I'd be happy with 7 or 8 wins as long as you're playing well at the end. Then we got one from Team JD. It says, what is a realistic expectation for the Commanders this year in terms of record? Can they make the playoffs? So kind of similar question here. I think a realistic expectation is like 7, 8 wins. I think that's a fair expectation for this fan base this year. What I want to see from the Commanders is less about the wins and losses, all right? What I want to see from this team is competitiveness, all right? Kind of like what the Arizona Cardinals showed last year, right? They were playing against some of the best teams in the game, and they were losing by like 6 or 7 points, right? One-score games. That's what I want to see from the Commanders. Like, if you go up against a really good team and you lose by 6 or 7, and that team had clearly the better roster, then there's nothing shameful about that, all right? This is a team that is that is going through a rebuild right now. It's not about this year. It's about years in the future, and I think this team is eventually going to get there, and they will hoist Lombardi trophies again. Now, speak now or forever hold your peace. Will the Commanders make the playoffs this season? Predict it for me, yes or no. Speak it into existence if you think that this team's going to overperform and make the postseason. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments. That'll be it for this week's mailbag. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already for daily Commanders news and rumors content, 100% free here on the platform.